What is disaster etiquette and why is it important? Listen on to find out. Hi, it's the Urban Lady Prepper. Currently, California, specifically the Los Angeles area, is being consumed by wildfires. Many people have lost their homes and precious things as they evacuated during this disaster. As of this recording, 11 people have died. Meanwhile, a storm hammered the south, with the region facing freezing temperatures, snow, and ice, which is uncommon for many of these areas. The storm hit Atlanta, where I live, and shut down the city and other parts of the state. Power and property losses and loss of life are expected with such extreme weather. Knowing how to support those affected can be hard when disaster strikes. Disaster etiquette isn't just about knowing what to say or do. It's about approaching the situation with empathy and understanding. Whether you're an individual eager to lend a hand or part of an organization involved with disaster relief, mastering the art of supporting disaster victims is crucial. Here are some practical tips and examples to help you better navigate your reactions and comments, ensuring your efforts are effective and compassionate. How can we all play a part in helping those in need with kindness and respect? It starts with empathy. Empathy is the cornerstone of disaster etiquette. When supporting disaster victims, it's important to understand their experiences and emotions. Empathy allows us to connect on a human level, offering comfort and understanding during challenging times. By putting ourselves in the shoes of those affected, we can tailor our help to meet their genuine needs rather than imposing what we think they require. For instance, a simple gesture like actively listening is more powerful than offering unsolicited advice or commentary. Empathetic actions help build trust, ensuring victims feel supported rather than overwhelmed with opinions. Understanding these nuances makes a significant difference in disaster relief efforts. Remember, empathy isn't just about feeling sorry for someone. It's about genuinely trying to understand their situation and being there for them in a meaningful way. When a disaster strikes or is about to occur, many of us will immediately think about someone we know, or maybe even some family members who live in the area. Our instinct is to reach out to them immediately to ensure they have a plan, have everything they need, and will be okay. If that's something you do, it shows that you're very thoughtful. But keep in mind that other folks are checking in with them as well. And if the event is occurring within a short period, there won't be a whole lot of time for them to chit-chat with you. So be understanding of this and don't expect a full conversation with folks who may be planning to evacuate or may have a small window of time to prepare to ride the event out. Send a quick text or message that you're thinking of them and are there to help. You may not get a personal reply. While the contact may truly be appreciated, the recipient may be overwhelmed, so don't feel slighted if you aren't personally acknowledged. Keep in perspective that this isn't about your needs right now. When you reach out, do it without judgment. Many people now post their statuses on social media, so follow them and offer encouragement, not judgment. If they request assistance and provide shareable information, do that, even if you can't donate yourself. After the disaster, do offer assistance if you can help those family and friends impacted or volunteer to help with recovery efforts, because that would be extraordinary. You're providing that human touch and assistance and building empathy because you're as close to being in their shoes as you can get. Many companies allow their employees to do volunteer work. If you're truly interested in being as helpful as possible, see if your company allows that. Be patient with them. Understand that everyone is dealing with trauma and may be experiencing heightened emotions. Right now, for many, there is no bright side. For those who are navigating the loss of a loved one or property or were injured due to the disaster, platitudes will not provide comfort. If you don't know what to say, don't say anything. Just be there for them. Sometimes, knowing someone is there with emotional support is comforting enough. Let them vent, let them feel their pain. Hold them if they need a hug. Ask what you could do to help and then listen. Being thoughtful and truly listening is key to supporting disaster victims. Sometimes, victims just need someone to hear them out. Avoid making assumptions about their needs and ask open-ended questions to understand their immediate requirements. Respect all property. Just because it's a disaster, it's still trespassing. Unless you're rushing to assist someone who clearly needs help, be mindful of the property of others. It's not just because you want to be lawful. It's also for your safety. Many people who stay behind do so because they want to protect their possessions and their homes. If there's anything salvageable, they may be willing to do anything, including injuring you or worse, to protect it. Be mindful of your communication. Open communication lines are critical for those evacuating or contacting first responders with emergencies. They're also trying to stay in touch with their loved ones. If you're nearby but not directly impacted by the disaster, limit non-essential calls and texts to avoid overloading communication networks. And please stay out of the way. Unfortunately for many people, the need to be where the action is, taking pictures and posting videos, is more important than recognizing the seriousness of the situation and how their presence may hinder rescue efforts. If you have no business being there, don't go. News outlets and people going through the event will certainly post enough videos and pictures to show what they're dealing with. Don't be that jerk that goes to a disaster scene to make the situation about you. If you're not a first responder, a medical professional, or someone cleared to volunteer or assist, don't go. Support local businesses. Several businesses and restaurants provide free food for first responders and evacuees. I will include that information in the podcast description. If you can, patronize these local businesses to aid in their recovery. If you're not in the area or it's still too congested with emergency workers, consider purchasing from the business online. As with any disaster, everyone has an opinion. Social media has allowed a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and frankly disgusting comments to flow freely unchecked. People can be awful, and with discussing current events of such magnitude, people forget how to act. So be wary of misinformation and rumors. Stick to reliable news sources and avoid information overload. Provide information that survivors can use. You don't get points for posting something false or misleading. This is not the time for an agenda. If you're not providing survivors, their friends, and family with useful information, such as actual website links to relief and telephone numbers to organizations that will help, don't post a blab about it. The 2 seconds of righteousness you feel may have cost someone an opportunity to receive assistance. If you don't want to live with that, and you don't want to verify what it is you're reading or seeing, don't engage. Which brings me to, don't play the blame game. Disasters in motion are unpredictable and uncontrollable. No matter how or how much an area prepares, no one knows what will happen or what approaches will work until the event occurs, and there will be failures. No one, especially those dealing directly with the situation, wants to hear the opinions of non-local armchair quarterbacks. Shut up. Spread helpful information and support until after the disaster, when deficiencies can be addressed and people can be held accountable for any mismanagement. Now, I've heard some things lately that have made my blood boil. There are certain politicians and talking heads that use any excuse to dig at someone because they're so fueled by hate and driven to divide us. These disgusting people, who have displayed their own failures with disaster, who can't take their heads out of their asses long enough to actually provide aid to people who are losing everything and those putting their lives on the line to help. I don't understand what's wrong with them, and those who nosh on their drivel, who take the bait. There's a whole other conversation we can have about how people who are hired because they're qualified, not a quota, and those who have jobs they didn't deserve because their daddy knew somebody or they could buy their way in and up. But this is not the time for that conversation, just as it's not the time to bring up those kind of things when dealing with a raging natural disaster. It accomplishes nothing, and nothing is more brutal, uncontrollable, and unpredictable than fire. When you have an area that has been overbuilt and did not have the infrastructure to support it, you have a bad situation that is made worse. People in charge have to make difficult choices to try and mitigate the damage, and there's no guarantee that any of the choices will work because we have no control over Mother Nature. There's also the problem of allowing billionaires to hijack water banks built with taxpayer money that urban areas have to buy back for situations like drought and wildfires. But again, this is not the time or the place. Disaster etiquette means leaving conversations like these for another day. But I am tired of giving racists a pass, and there's no way I was going to let that commentary slide without comment. And trust me when I say I'm being so very kind right now. But anyway, if you're helping victims with applying for assistance, beware of scammers who may try to exploit the situation. They're out there. Also, disasters can have a significant impact on mental health. Encourage survivors to seek help if needed. Inquire if an organization involved with the relief efforts provides counseling or can provide information on where to obtain it. If you're donating goods, make sure they're useful. Items like clean clothing, non-perishable food, and toiletries are often in high demand. Volunteering your time can also make a big difference, whether it's helping with cleanup efforts or distributing supplies. Additionally, financial contributions to reputable organizations can be impactful, as these groups often have the means to address the needs efficiently. If you want to become a volunteer, that's awesome. However, navigating disaster relief efforts effectively requires a coordinated and informed approach. Start by researching which organizations are active in the area affected. Established groups often have systems in place for distributing aid efficiently. Joining their efforts can amplify your impact. Be adaptable, as disaster situations are often fluid and needs may change rapidly. Follow the instructions from the organization you're volunteering for. This is not the time to play cowboy. Stay informed through reliable news sources and updates from relief agencies. Remember, your presence and willingness to help can provide much-needed physical and emotional support. Ultimately, acting with respect and sensitivity will help those in need feel valued and understood, which is at the heart of disaster relief. For those considering fundraising, transparency is crucial. Communicate how the funds will be used to gain trust and support. Disasters are challenging times. By practicing empathy, patience, and respect, we can help each other navigate these difficult situations and rebuild stronger communities. As I've been saying since I started my blog and podcast, these disasters will increase and become more destructive and expensive. We no longer have the luxury of sitting back thinking that these things won't happen to us. We live in a very frustrating era where there's fighting, infighting, and not enough planning and improving the things that could mitigate the damage these disasters will cause. The different mechanisms put in place for disaster relief and the planning of cities were for an era of fewer people, less traffic, and less dependence. Certain plentiful and free resources, such as water, weren't yet made commodities. We may never be fully able to trust politicians and leaders in general to act on our best interest, which is why I will always emphasize the need to be more self-sufficient and to wean ourselves off the things that keep us tethered to people who want to see us fight for scraps. We need to do better. Prayers to Los Angeles and everyone involved in trying to contain these fires. Prayers for anyone affected by the winter storms they're not used to having. Let's be more genuine and empathetic when we try to be helpful. Disasters generally bring out the best in people. Many of us do know how to exercise disaster etiquette. I would love to see us progress to where etiquette, or just common human decency, isn't just for extreme weather events. Thanks for listening. Until next time, this is the Urban Lady Prepper signing off. I hope that I've given you some things to think about as you go through the upcoming week. I upload a new podcast every Sunday. Visit my website, urbanladyprepper.com, where I post a new article every Wednesday and Friday. While there, sign up for my weekly newsletter, which contains information that usually isn't on the podcast or website. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and show your support with a donation or buy some Urban Lady Prepper gear. It helps me continue to grow and provide even more content. Join me on the socials. I look forward to hearing from you. Stay safe, stay sharp, and be ready.